Ooh, okay, guys. I just filmed this video and it was 45 minutes long, and that is too long for YouTube. I'm not going to do that. I wanted to keep it to 25 minutes and under. So here we go. We're going to go with the super condensed, hopefully streamlined, how to collect ECW. So let's just get right into her. All right, ECW. I painted my ECW force last year. I finished it last year. It currently sits at around 300 miniatures, 294 or 296, something like that. So not quite 300. I have another 100 miniatures I want to add. This list represents what I want it to be when it's done. When it's like I never add a single thing to it ever again. So let's just get straight into it. This would be an all accompanying list. You could play small, medium, large games with it, and you could also play the To Kill Every scenario in the To Kill a King book with this army. So this is built around Pike and Shot. Obviously, I just referenced one of the supplements, but you can use this for other game types as well. Pike and Shot regiments. These are the backbone of an ECW army. The standard convention is 40-man units. That's going to be 16 pikemen, including a command, and 2 wings of 12 musketeers for 24 total musketeers. That's 40 men. I have 4 units of these. I only have 3 painted in my army currently, but yeah, I want to add another one. Command and Shot, these are going to be independent musketeers. They can have firelocks. They can have matchlocks. It just depends on how you want to model them and build them out. I currently have 2 units of these guys, but I want to have 3. And this is what they are. They'll have their own independent commands, but they're going to be all musketeers. Pikemen, independent pike. This is kind of an optional thing. Some scenarios in the book will call for you to have an independent pike unit, especially if you're a royalist, I believe, which is why I have them, because I am a royalist player. But yeah, I just decided to do a large unit of these guys. And in case you guys don't know, in Pike and Shot, there's a chart, and you can have small, medium, or large units, and there's like a minimum miniature count or a range of miniatures that goes into each size of the unit. So you can see I just have this right here. You know, a medium unit is typically, these are how I play them, and then a large unit, an independent large unit is 36. If you're asking why, well, that's 40. Why is that considered a medium unit? Because the musketeers and the pikemen are actually considered they're actually considered independent units of each other. So they take hits independent of each other, the pike and the musket wings, but there are rules that allow them to be a combined formation, in which case they're just a medium unit. Cavalry, you're going to have cavalry. I'd say the bare minimum cavalry you would want would be 3 units, but really 4 units of cavalry is kind of where you need to be. The bulk of it's going to be the medium cavalry. I do all my cavalry units at 12 just because that's the most conventional wargaming cavalry size there. These guys will have swords and pistols. You can, in most cases, upgrade them to have carbines. Heavy cavalry, these are going to be your cuirassiers. These are your tanks. Me and Holy Diver love playing with these guys. They save on 3s usually. They're just chonky. And then Lifeguard cavalry. If you're a royalist player, or if you're really any player, you're gonna have some sort of guard cavalry of some sort. I haven't got these guys yet. This is the next unit of cavalry I want to get myself. Dragoons. The Dragoons are a mainstay of any English Civil War army. This was the conflict in which Dragoons were actually, the title indicated what their actual function on the battlefield was. Later in the Napoleonic eras, Dragoons just essentially became synonymous with heavy cavalry. Dragoons in the English Civil War era and the 30 Years' War era were mounted infantry. They were guys that used horses for mobility, so they could kind of be a scouting element or an advance party or secure key terrain ahead of a force, that sort of thing, a screening force. They had supporting duties on the battlefield. but they were meant to move on horse but fight on foot, and they had muskets. So these units are actually kind of tricky because if you do them properly, and I use that with quotes, uh, you're going to have 12 guys mounted on horse and then 12 guys dismounted on skirmishing bases for each unit. So that's going to be a total of 24 miniature counts per unit. So if you wanted to be a super Chad wargamer, you'd have 3 units. But now you're looking at 72 miniatures, which is well, yeah, which is a lot. So that's a lot of miniatures for some dragoons. A lot of money too. But yeah, that's what I plan. I don't have any dragoons in my army right now, so that is a giant hole that I am missing out of my army. Artillery. You actually don't need this much artillery, especially for pike and shot. If you're just playing regular pike and shot scenarios, you're actually only allowed more than one. You can only have 1 gun per battalion. I doubt anybody ever has more than 3 battalions on a board. So that would be a max of 3 guns. As you can see here, I have 6. That is for the To Kill a King supplement, because a lot of the supplements, some of the battalions have like 2 guns each. So, or a lot of the scenarios in the supplement, you have 2 guns each. So that's why I have that in there. So that way I can have a good force of light medium guns in there. Forlorn Hope / Storming Party. These are the guys. Forlorn Hope are the guys that were kind of the vanguard of an attack, an all volunteer force. It just went straight in, full on, no pullouts. Usually wound up dead, but that's what they did. Alternatively, for siege games in Pike and Shot, the Warlord game Pike and Shot, you can have an a storming party, which can only be used, like I said, in a siege. Commanders. I have these commanders here listed as 10 miniatures. That should be enough to give you 3 or 4 commanders. My thought being, I want a commander for each battalion. So I plan on having a max of 3 battalions. So that's 1 commander per battalion, and then a big daddy commander. So my little guys are commanders who have 2 miniatures on a base or 1, and then my big daddy has 3 or 4 miniatures on a big round base. And that's how I do it. That's my King Charles. He has 4 miniatures on his base. He has a standard bearer, a musician, and then it's him on his horse. And he has like a sergeant or an officer with him as well. And that's my big commander dude. So you can see here for units, 22 units. That's not really a unit, so 20. We'll just say 20 units, and 416 miniatures. That is a big battle wargaming army in 28 millimeter, and no one can say differently. So this might be unattainable for most people, monetary and painting wise. That's a lot of miniatures to paint. But you can easily scale this down. I think 200 to 300 will get you a good playable army. If you have less than 200, your units, you're gonna be playing with a lot of small units. You're gonna have some incomplete battalions. So I really think 200 miniatures is what you should try and shoot for. 300 would give you a pretty comprehensive force, and then 400 would give you your Christmas Day force, which you would never have to touch. So let's just get on. I'm gonna do a time check. No, doing pretty good. Let's just get straight into manufacturers. So, Old Faithful here, Warlord Games. They have everything for English Civil War. I think this is where I lost a lot of my time in my last video because I just kept talking about them. But their range is extremely comprehensive. They are the only plastic manufacturer for English Civil War miniatures. And I'm going to talk about this for a second. They're extremely old. They're over 10 years old. It's some of their oldest plastic miniatures, and it shows. They're all monopose. The Musketeers, you get either firing or at port arms. Not a lot of variation, not a lot of options. The Pikemen, you have to build your pike units with like 4 guys at the ready, 4 guys advancing, and 4 guys attacking. That's the only way you can build them. Attacking Units with attacking pikes are a pain in the ass for anybody who travels with their miniatures. So if you're taking these to a war games club or a convention or to your friend's house like me, attacking units are a pain because they take up a lot of space. They're more easy to break. They get tangled. They're just a pain in the ass. This was the first pike army I ever did, so I had to learn quick that those pike units in the attacking formation are kind of a bitch. I had two 40-man regiments of the plastic warlords, pike and shot regiments, that are in the attacking thing, and they're a pain in the ass. And I said after that, I was like, all right, I'm not doing attacking pikes anymore. Ancients, medieval, black powder era. I'm not doing any more attacking pikes. I'm done with that. And that I found that out pretty quick. So if this is your first time doing a pike army, just be cognizant of that. If you need to travel with your miniatures, if they're just sitting in your basement or you have a separate location where you store all your stuff and you just play there, not a big deal. Like Holy Diver, not a big deal for him because I go over to his house and his miniatures just sit in his basement in his cupboard, right? So yeah, but they have an extremely comprehensive line, very comprehensive. They even have, civilians and rabble rousers, and they have commanders. There's a priest and just all sorts of stuff. Surgeons, named commanders. They make up half of my force. So half of my force, maybe even slightly more, is Warlord. Their medals are okay. I don't mind their metal miniatures. I own the Montrose Irish metal set, and it is an okay set. I really liked it. It's very unique and it has a lot of character on it. So yeah, but their plastic's not a big fan. If you watch any of my other videos, if you heard me talk to Holy Diver, I call them melted buttermen because the features they're just old and they kind of look like the features have melted into the miniature. So that's Warlord Games. And their metal stuff, as a caveat, their plastic stuff you can find very cheap. And they have some really good starter sets. But their metal stuff is expensive as the premium metal manufacturers, which just doesn't really make it worth it in my opinion. But as you can see here, you have two starter sets. You have this one right here, which essentially gives you 2 units of cavalry, 2 units of two 40-man regiments, and a storming party. That's a great starter force right there. I mean, you're looking at over 100. That's like 120 miniatures right there. So that's and then all you'd have to do is add, maybe another regiment of cavalry and infantry and a gun or two, and bam, you have 200 miniatures right there. That's a great deal. It does not come with the rule book. Holy Diver got that set. That's the set he got. Great starter set. I went for the King and Country box set, which you can find here in the States for good prices on sale. Both of these you can find on sale typically for way cheaper than this. And I got this one, and that's because I wanted the hardback rules. And this one comes with the hardback rules, but you don't get as many miniatures. You only get you only get 58 pike and shot guys, 12 cavalry, and then a 12-man storming party. So not as many miniatures, but if you want to have that hardback rule book, and it is like that old school GW hardback rule book, then the for King and Country is going to be for you. So yeah, that's Warlord Games. Not really much else to say about them. I'm gonna go next to the company I use that makes up the bulk of the other big bulk of my army, and that's going to be Perry's. Perry's has a smaller, yet I would call it comprehensive, just barely, miniature line for ECW. As you saw, they had Scots and English. The miniatures are fine. They're great miniatures. I really enjoyed painting these miniatures. My Ralph Humpton 40-man regiment were of these guys here, and I painted them in a week because they were so cool. And then I also have their cuirassiers. I have one of their cannons. I have their casualties are really neat. I have these guys on little casualty counter dial bases. Painted those guys up. But yeah, these guys, these are really good miniatures. I think everybody at this point knows what Perry medals are. The Perry Skull Throne miniatures, and they have decent options. They actually don't have any attacking I think that's because the parries, no, they're gamers and they know attacking pikes suck, so they don't even have an attacking pike option. They only have a medium and light cannon option, no heavy guns. So you'll have to go somewhere else. But everything else they more or less got covered. They don't have any named commanders, so you'd have to go somewhere else if you want your Cromwells and your Charles. You'll have to go somewhere else. But yeah, like I said, I own over 100 of these guys. They paint up great, awesome miniatures. Foundry. Foundry has a extremely comprehensive ECW line. They are expensive. They're very expensive and they're smaller. Now they say they were painted or they were sculpted by the Perry twins, but I own some of their cavalry, and when I put them next to Perry's cavalry, actual Perry's cavalry, they're smaller. And that's just how it is. And then additionally, I do own, I think, 20 of their Musketeers as well, or 15, something like that. Uh, and they blend a little bit better, but the cavalry is just smaller. I think the infantry might be a little bit smaller too, so it's a little less noticeable. But they have an extremely comprehensive range, extremely comprehensive. And they're nice miniatures. The miniatures themselves are fine. So my big gripe with the Foundry stuff is the price. As you can see here, um, you know, 8 infantry is going to be 14 pounds. That's a lot. That's a lot. That's a lot of scratch. So that's way more than a pound of miniature. So just be aware of that. Or you can get 6 for 12, which means you're paying 2 pounds a miniature, right? So oof, big oof. But yeah, they do have a very comprehensive line. I own the heavy gun. Yeah, this guy with the artillery crew. That was actually a really good set. Really liked painting that up. So yeah, I might order more if when I do the Christmas sales, But yeah, really expensive, but very comprehensive. Now for the next manufacturers here, you have Bicorn. These were recommended to me by Miller. From YouTube. He does a lot of English Civil War stuff. Haven't actually bought from them yet. But like I said earlier, I have another 100 miniatures I want to paint, and I want to get them from here. And they have everything. Everything. Every kind of artillery, every kind of cavalry. They have Irish and Scots. They have foot of every sort, and they have a shit ton of commanders. So you can see here two pages of commanders for both sides. So they have their own. I almost wish I would have waited and just got these versions of the miniatures. So I've told Holy Diver that I don't like painting and selling miniatures because I can never get that time back. But if I was to ever sell miniatures, I'd sell those plastic warlords and replace them with something like this. Because I have a feeling these are going to be more of those Aventine style, chunky, really good looking, easy to paint miniatures. Um, yeah, and there's a literal shit ton of them. So very comprehensive force, but I don't own any, so I'm not going to stay too long. And they even have like accessories. You can buy individual horses and weapons, and some diorama scenery, and they have limbers and wagons, and like that's just cool. That's just some cool stuff. Peasants. Might have to get some peasants. Ooh, man, their casualties look cool. I never even seen these guys. Oh man, this actually look really cool. But yeah, and they're a little bit cheaper than the Foundry. As you can see, eight infantry is only 12 pounds, so they're 2 pounds cheaper than Foundry. So keep that in mind. Now, as far as the most economic route you can go for metal miniatures, I think that's going to be First Corps. I don't have any of these guys. I contemplated buying First Corps. I've heard their Pike and Shot Regiment, or their English Civil War line rather, is extremely nice. But I did not buy them. What's nice is you can do the unit deals, and they have different scales. So if you want a 40-man regiment, they have options for 40-man regiments. They have option for 52-man regiments. 20-man, 28-man regiments, 36. So they have a really good option there for units, and they have different styles of units. So you can have that good variety of units in there. And as you can see, the more you buy, the more you save. So you can get a 52-man regiment that's less than a pound of miniature. That's pretty good. They have cavalry, they have artillery, they have casualties. Just a little caveat: they don't actually have cuirassiers listed here, but if you go to the 30 Years War page, they'll have units of cuirassiers that you can just throw in there. So those are there. There might be a couple smaller manufacturers that do some stuff. If you watch Dom's and Seventh Sons podcasts, they're always talking about how much they love bloody miniatures. This is a new company, but it looks like they're rapidly expanding their line, as you can see here. But yeah, I don't own any of these guys. I actually will probably buy some for my Forlorn Hope. But yeah, you can also get some dismounted troopers. They just they're really unique. There's really no other kind of like these types of miniatures on the market, and apparently they're very high quality. So might be ordering some of these guys. But yeah, I'm sure there's a couple other manufacturers that do ECW stuff. But that's kind of what I've seen and what I've bought. Like I said, I think your barrier to entry for being able to game is going to be 200 miniatures for one side. 400 if you're painting both sides. If you want to be, a mid-level Chad, you're going to probably want 300 miniatures. That'll give you a fairly comprehensive force for most scenarios. And if you want to be a mega ultra Chad, a Sigma male, as the kids are calling it now, 400 miniatures will get you there. Now, obviously, if you're painting two sides because you don't have anybody to play against who's painting a force, 800 miniatures is a little rough, I would say. Now, some of the stuff you could share, like you could share the Dragoons and some of the cavalry and some of the artillery across both sides. So you could, maybe not quite 800, maybe 700, right? That's still a lot of miniatures. That's a lot of miniatures. So I think I did a lot better on time this time. I'm actually hitting my time hat. But yeah, let me know if this video was helpful. I had a few requests on how to collect ECW stuff. And obviously a lot of this does translate to 30 Years War, but obviously, that was between the Imperials, the Swedes, and the Spanish were in there, so the units were a little bit different, but a lot of crossover. So I hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions, post them below, and good luck collecting your ECW army. Until next time.